Today, we'll delve into a fascinating and transformative topic: our capacity to make profound changes in our lives. We're living in a decisive and transformative moment, and I firmly believe that we become what we practice. When it comes to truly opening the heart, this practice takes on an extraordinary character, especially in challenging times. In a world where few choose this openness, the act of keeping the heart open, even when it's most difficult, reveals our true strength. This event, which will bring together thousands of people from all over the world, will be a unique opportunity to discover how we can achieve this transformation. If you truly believe in the future you're visualizing with all your being, it's essential to keep your heart open and active. This is the real test. The science of transformation has evolved enormously. In ancient times, Buddha used the language of his time to share profound concepts. Today, disciplines such as neuroscience, neuroendocrinology, immunology, and psychoneuroimmunology show us new possibilities in this field. Modern knowledge provides us with tools to measure and understand these transformations. The more you understand what you're doing and why, the deeper the meaning of your actions becomes, and the easier the transformation process becomes. We're in an era where knowing is no longer enough, we need to know how. Information is widely available, and we no longer need to depend on authorities to acquire knowledge. When you create new connections in the brain, that's learning. Repeating what you've learned helps install new neurological structures, preparing your brain for the experience. When that experience occurs, it enriches those circuits and transforms your mind. Feeling gratitude, for example, teaches the body something that the mind understands intellectually. Knowledge is for the mind, and experience is for the body. This continuous cycle of learning, practice, and transformation allows us to shape our future at a deep level, even genetically. The cycle of transformation involves mind, body, and soul. Just as an athlete who repeats training to improve their skills, repetition conditions body and mind to function in perfect harmony. With constant practice, this becomes second nature, a cycle of knowledge, experience, and wisdom. Mind, body, and soul in full integration. Learning with the mind, applying with the hands, internalizing and transforming thought into action and being, this is the cycle of true transformation. We must rise as if our prayers have already been answered. The challenge lies in the fact that our senses often deceive us, moving us away from the desired reality. When someone says, "I want to be healed, I want to be healthy, I want to be rich," but upon returning to their daily reality feels that nothing has changed, a disconnection occurs between desire and experience. This disconnection happens because thoughts are the language of the brain, while feelings are the language of the body. Mind and body can be in disagreement. When we reflect on appreciation, gratitude, or thankfulness, we experience these emotions when we receive something good or when something positive happens. At that moment, gratitude becomes the emotional signature that what you desire has already happened in your future. By opening your heart and feeling that anticipated emotion, your body, which operates as an unconscious mind, believes it's living that future in the present. The more intense the emotion, the more vivid the image becomes in your mind. We can say that you're beginning to remember your future, and biologically, this is equivalent to remembering the past. Thought and feeling transform your state of being, which means that over time, you'll come to feel that your future has already happened. Thus, you'll no longer wonder when or how something will happen, because you'll feel it has already occurred. This eliminates the need to predict, control, or wait for the future, and allows you to connect emotionally with what's to come. When someone experiences trauma or discomfort, it's natural to focus on the external environment. The brain captures a snapshot of that moment that becomes an emotionally charged memory. The more intense the emotion, the stronger the image is engraved in the brain. At a neurological level, this leads the person to think and feel within the circuit of that emotional experience, living biologically in the past. When they wake up, they think about their problems, people, places, objects, experiences that condition their brain and body to an emotional past. By living in the past, they're predicting a future that repeats that familiar cycle. But the unknown resides in the present. When you connect with the present, you break the cycle of past conditioning. This is a moment of awareness. As many say, when you're inside the jar, you can't see the label. We think we're obsessed with theory, competition, or conflict, but in reality, we approach life in a fragmented way, focusing our attention on a specific point of consciousness, a particular future or outcome. When we try to transform matter directly, we act with force, control, predictions, and constant effort because we're in survival mode. We want to move forward quickly, but this rush reinforces our addiction to intense emotions like adrenaline, which awakens the body. Many people use their daily circumstances to feed this emotional addiction, resulting in a life they don't really want, making change an immense challenge. I propose an alternative: divert your attention from the body and become a nobody. Remove the focus from the people to whom you dedicate so much emotional energy and go from being somebody to being nobody. If your entity is deeply linked to the body, a greater effort will be necessary, as that's what you identify with. Go beyond all aspects of your life, your cell phone, computer, car, and go from being something to being nothing. If you divert your attention from the places where you work, live, need to be, and from where you're sitting, you can go from being somewhere to being nowhere. Stop thinking about the foreseeable future and the familiar past, and focus totally on the present moment, going from some time to no time. By doing this correctly, you'll become pure consciousness, entering the quantum field. This invisible field of energy connects all matter. When you create from this field, you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion. Feeling connected is being truly connected. In that vibrational synchrony between your energy and a future reality, you become the vortex that collapses space and time, attracting the experience to you. This approach goes beyond prediction and control, as the experience is the unknown. If you could predict when or how it would occur, it would be something known. Therefore, it's necessary to leave behind everything you know and allow something greater to happen. Even immersed in this material world, I can state with conviction that by understanding and applying the formula to create coherence between brain and heart, you'll experience a transformation in your biology, affecting your neurological, chemical, hormonal, and genetic systems. We have evidence of these changes observed in studies and witnessed at events. When you trust your heart, keep it open, and strengthen your immune system, your telomeres lengthen. This evidence, both in the scientific field and in everyday life, are convincing voices that something extraordinary is happening. The true catalyst for this process is being present and living it. During our events, I observed the audience and realized that there wasn't a single distracted person. Everyone was totally involved in the truth they were witnessing. Just before an important event, these people didn't seem extraordinary or different from others, they were ordinary people. And the thought that arises when witnessing these transformations is, if this person achieved it, I can too. At that moment, all doubt disappears, and belief in our own capacity for change strengthens. We're witnessing impressive healings, such as patients who suffered strokes and had paralyzed limbs for years, or people who lost their vision due to a stroke and suddenly regained perfect vision. Medical examinations show complete and impressive recovery. According to the conventional model of medicine, strokes don't heal if there's no improvement in the first 2 weeks, and damaged nerves generally don't regenerate after a certain period. However, we're witnessing these extraordinary changes. You might think, yes, I believe in miracles, but when we really start to witness them, they become contagious, like a wildfire. At our events, as we begin to observe these healings, we know they'll become increasingly frequent and impressive. For example, a person with Raynaud's syndrome, a condition that causes extreme sensitivity to cold and immune problems, reported their complete recovery. They came on stage and said, "I can't believe it. I was out there in London in November, and now I'm in the process of complete remission." Just as an infection can spread affecting a community, health and well-being can also become contagious. Suddenly, this new awareness becomes the norm, and we begin to realize that maybe we don't need a pill, an injection, or a surgical procedure to change our state of being. We need an external influence that promotes healing from the inside out. When we visualize the possibility in our minds, we see a future, feel inspiration and gratitude, and by changing our emotions or energy, we align a clear intention with an elevated emotion. This is how thoughts and feelings create a new state of being, changing the brain and body just with thought. Studies on placebos show that people who receive a placebo can improve as much as those taking the real medication in up to 80% of cases. Moving towards a new state of being requires practice and constant work. It's necessary to sit and go beyond all the people in your life, all the tasks you need to perform, and the place where you are. You must transcend your body that wants to get up and move, and tell it, "I won't get up until I decide." This is the moment when you stop being a spectator and enter the game, abandoning the known self and existing in the unknown, in pure possibility. Those who combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, without depending on external substances, transform their state of being. This process becomes a habit, and you begin to distinguish when you're in that state and when you're not. The word meditation means to become familiar with something. The more you get used to the feeling of altering your state of being, the easier it becomes to do it with your eyes open or closed. If you return to your old state of being, it's likely that the pain or condition will return. People face common obstacles when learning to heal and change. They advance a few steps and then retreat. It's necessary to practice and be attentive to what was previously unconscious. If you remain in that state for long enough, you'll reach a point where your internal chemistry changes so drastically that you fall in love with life. Imagine what happens when oxytocin is released in large quantities. Oxytocin sends signals to nitric oxide, which in turn activates a chemical called endothelium-derived relaxing factor. This substance causes the arteries of the heart to expand, increasing blood flow. Just as you feel an increase in blood flow in the sexual organs when you're excited, now you'll experience an intense expansion in the heart. The heart will be completely open, and in that state, you won't want to hold grudges or need to forgive with resentment. This is an elevated level of skill in life. By mastering this skill, all the things you thought you wanted become less important, because by creating more coherence between the brain and the heart, you feel more complete. And the more complete you feel, the less you live in lack. How can you desire many things if you already feel complete? Those coincidences that occur are experiences that arrive as signals from the field, indicating that you're on the right path. There's a synchronization between that person's energy and their future, and the side effect of that connection are the signals. This is where it becomes exciting, because each signal generates enthusiasm, and that enthusiasm motivates you to continue moving forward. Synchronicity triggers an elevated emotion, and you use that energy for the next creation. People begin to free themselves from the past. Our bodies, composed of proteins, are complex machines. Every cell in the body, with the exception of red blood cells, is responsible for producing specific proteins. Muscle cells generate muscle proteins, skin cells produce collagen, and immune cells create antibodies or immunoglobulins. Eye cells manufacture eye proteins called keratin. All of this is linked to gene regulation. In the past, it was believed that genes were responsible for diseases. But this is a myth. With the exception of true genetic conditions like type 1 diabetes, between 95 and 99% of diseases result from lifestyle and behaviors. Even identical twins who possess the same genome can manifest different genetic expressions depending on the environment and the signals their bodies send to the genes. When you live in stress and survival mode, you're constantly in a state of emergency, which isn't ideal for growth and repair. If you remain in that state for a long time, you'll continue to send negative signals to your genes, which can lead to genetic degradation. It's like making a copy of a copy of a copy. Eventually, you start producing lower quality proteins. The expression of proteins is literally the expression of life. You can send signals to your genes without depending on the external environment. If you're waiting to feel healthy to experience fullness and gratitude, or waiting for a new relationship to feel love, you're following the old model of cause and effect reality, where you wait for an external change to feel better and fill the inner void. However, when a person embraces the emotion before the event occurs and understands what they're doing and why, they're signaling the gene before the environment does. Given that the end result of an experience is an emotion, when you embrace that emotion before the experience, you're activating the gene in advance, becoming who you want to be. If genes produce proteins and proteins determine the structure and function of your body, by doing this, you begin to transform into the person you want to be. Therefore, it's not about wealth, health, new relationships, or material goods, but about who we're becoming. Overcoming our old self requires a great act of will and awareness, but it's at that moment that we transform into something more. And once you become that new person, no one can take that away from you. You know that you really know how to do it, or better yet, you know that you already are like that. A truly abundant person doesn't need to constantly repeat "I am abundant" or "I am healthy." In the same way, someone who is healthy doesn't need to repeatedly affirm "I am healthy," they simply are. However, many people end up being deceived by their own senses. Even if 5% of your conscious mind intends to change, your body, accustomed to a foreseeable future or conditioned to the past, may disagree. You can say "I am healthy, I am healthy, I am happy, I am happy," but if the body is habituated to past emotions, it responds with messages like "you're miserable, you're unhappy." These thoughts don't even manage to connect effectively between the brain and the body. Those who practice self-regulation often don't perceive when they begin to change their emotional states, nor the magnitude of the biological and energetic changes that occur within and around them. That's why it's essential to continuously develop and improve this skill, questioning oneself: what's blocking the connection between my future and me? What's preventing me from connecting with the quantum field? That's the real question. Genes function as a library of possibilities, and we express different genes based on the signals we receive. We have around 140,000 proteins that constitute our physical body, and their variations depend on those signals. My hypothesis is that genes are 98 times more sensitive to energy or electromagnetism than to chemistry. Chemistry is a downward causal, therefore, when a person elevates their energetic state, they can experience more significant and rapid changes in their body. How do you explain the phenomenon of someone who enters a meditation blind and comes out seeing? What happens there? We emit an energetic field capable of producing changes in our physical reality, such as the reduction of a tumor. The more a person's consciousness is connected with universal science, the less time it will take to manifest these changes. I believe we are eternal, and whether through karma, nirvana, or any other belief, our consciousness continues to exist. This raises the question: if I'm awakening now in 2024 and I have a healthy body, charisma, and success, why not use the same passion I applied in life to create great habits and direct it inward? You can flourish in ways you never imagined. Someone achieved it at 70 years old, and if you're 38, what's the problem? The wheel of fortune keeps turning, and no one has the right to say you're too old to do this work. We've already seen people of 80 and even 90 years old achieving surprising results. I've seen their brain scans and, guess what, they know what they're doing and, best of all, they're happy. They even overcame genetic disorders that medicine couldn't solve. Of course, there were days when they doubted themselves, when they didn't want to meditate, when they felt fear because doctors said they were foolish and were going to die. There were times when they could have excused themselves saying, "I'm too busy, I have many things to do," and simply not done the work. But guess what, they went ahead anyway. They overcame fear. Love for life became greater than the fear of death. It doesn't matter if you're overweight, underweight, or out of shape. I've seen people of all shapes and sizes achieving incredible results. Those who never meditated before often have the most profound experiences because they don't try anything or have expectations. They simply follow the instructions and, in their innocence, find something truly grand. We're measuring telomeres and have a large number of participants in our studies, and the results are extraordinary. Transformation is possible, and it's within reach for all of us. It just takes the will to begin and the perseverance to continue. Remember, each day is a new opportunity to rewrite your story and become the best version of yourself.